moving on to the most recent events that are unfolding in Minnesota, specifically the killing of anti-ICE activists Ms. Good and Mr. Pretty. First of all, the same forces that are currently creating an image of martyrs out of these two people, they were the ones who created the problem. They opened the border in 2021. It was Biden's regime allowing 10 million people to enter the United States. Why did they do that? It's a very interesting question, because first of all, these people count as population to create more House of Representative seats. So they were hoping that when there's census redistribution of House of Representative seats, then they would count all these undocumented migrants as an increased population in those states where they end up, and so they can gain more seats. Not gonna comment about some of them illegally voting, we don't know. But the point is, they're creating this problem of mass illegal immigration. They opened the border needlessly, they didn't need to be open, and then they lost the election because of that. Now somebody else is trying to fix the problem, trying to deport illegally admitted people, and now they're sabotaging that effort by recruiting violent activists to impede the actions of ICE. We can say that the actions of ICE could be very cruel, they could be indiscriminate, maybe they're amateurs in some ways, they were just recently recruited and they could have done it in a better way. But you see, the people who created the problem, they didn't offer any solution. They did not say that this is not a problem. If they openly said, you know what, we intentionally invited all these undocumented migrants for such and such and such purpose, but they're considering it a problem, they agree that illegal immigration is a problem, and it may or may not be. We don't have to say that it's definitely a problem. It could be beneficial in some ways to the United States if we get cheap labor and etc. It could be harmful because the local population is getting replaced by foreigners, but it's not about that. This is debate. The debate is they were the ones who created the problem by opening the borders. Now they see that Trump administration is trying to solve the problem that they also admit is a problem, but they're not letting the Trump administration solve the problem. They're sabotaging the ICE. They're blocking the streets. They're sending those activists, violent activists, attack ICE agents. And now that during the confrontations with ICE, some of these activists get killed because they attacked ICE and they need to defend themselves, or they just get killed by mistake. Maybe they get killed by mistake because they were there, place where they were not supposed to be. They put themselves in danger. Then now they're trying to make them look like martyrs for a good cause. What is a good cause? Where is the good cause? The Democratic Party, for example, if they consider undocumented migration to be a problem, then why aren't they offering a solution on how else all documented migrants, maybe they're wonderful people, but if they consider them to be a problem, then why aren't Democrats suggesting how else, what other methods could be to deport all these people? What are the other methods? What are the other ways to send them back? They're not offering any of that, even though they're acknowledging that illegal immigration is a problem. They never admitted that they themselves created that problem by opening the border in 2021. But if they're not offering any solution and they're preventing Trump administration from resolving this problem in any way that's possible, that's accessible, that's feasible, then basically we have to make a conclusion that they really don't care about the migrants. They don't care about illegal immigration problem. What all they care about is to destabilize the situation in the country, create chaos. Look at red states. Red states are cooperating with ICE. There's no drama there. There's no activists operating in red states. There's no activists, violent activists attacking ICE and dying in red states, because the red states are not sanctuary states, and they're cooperating with ICE. They're turning over illegal migrants from deportation, and you can judge and say that these illegal migrants are wonderful people, and many of them are, that they're nice people, they shouldn't be deported, they have jobs, they have good moral character. I agree with many of those arguments, but this is not the discussion here. The discussion is, how come in the red states there is no drama and violent activists are not being sent to red states to protest ICE violently, and the process of deportation is going smoothly there. Whereas in blue states, local government is deliberately creating conditions for violence, sabotaging ICE, and calling on their removal from those cities, calling them invaders, calling this as an invasion, etc. They're not offering any solution on how to deport all these people. At the same time, they call it an invasion. Also, you need to remember that a massive multi-billion-dollar fraud was discovered in Minnesota where local officials are complicit, where local officials such as the mayor of Minneapolis or Tim Walz, the governor, who's not going to seek re-election because he's involved, obviously. They were involved in all this massive fraud with Somalians. And so now, to distract the attention of the public from their wrongdoing, they're encouraging violent riots, violent attacks against ICE, and also sending those martyrs to die at the hands of ICE to distract attention of the public in mainstream media to the cruelty of ICE agents. And this is all going back to the same principle that these on the left are pushing people's compassion buttons. They're creating a psychosis around the country where people no longer pay attention to the massive fraud operation that Minnesota organized, the Minnesota officials organized together with Somalians. They don't want anybody to pay attention to that. They want everybody to pay attention to the deaths of Miss Good and Mr. Pretty, who are now being turned into martyrs, even though they are pretty much violent terrorists who attacked ICE. And if they are not violent terrorists, please explain what were they doing there? Why were they in that area? There is no peaceful protesters stand on the sidewalk peacefully with big posters saying fuck ICE or something like that, but they're standing there and they're not blocking the streets, they're not attacking ICE, they are not provoking violence. These would be peaceful protesters. What we see going on over there is definitely not peaceful. And I want to repeat that this is really not about migrants. Migrants have been, their presence in the country have been used to manipulate politics. What I'm actually arguing against is the use of manipulation of people's compassion, sense of compassion for political gain. That should not be acceptable, and people need to be a little bit smarter. People need to be a little bit more intelligent. They need to really read between the lines and look at the big picture and see that this was artificially, intentionally orchestrated situation to create fake martyrs out of violent activists that attacked ICE for political gain for the Democrats.